Hi everybody, welcome to the Community Challenge webinar. Hopefully you've all joined. If not, don't worry, we're going to be recording this and putting this live on YouTube shortly after the event. So welcome to everybody that's here and thanks for joining us. So with me today I have my marvellous co-host Laura Graham-Brown.
Good morning, Sharon.
Hi there. We've got little videos coming up from the Microsoft production team and from the MVP. What we're doing today is a short introduction by Laura and I. We're going to tell you a little bit about what we're up to and who we are. And then, like I say, we'll jump into those videos and then hopefully we'll get you to participate in the challenge. Those of you who've met me before, I am the community leader for Cambridge, sunny city of Cambridge. And here's all the various ways that you can get in touch with me. Please do ask me if I want to have a coffee. Look, evidence, coffee right there. I do always say yes to a coffee, especially if it's with Laura. Moving on to Laura, do you want to tell us a little about yourself?
Hi, I'm Laura. I'm lots of different ways to get hold of me there. The comment at the bottom, I will solve problems way past my bedtime. Yeah, there are far too many times when I'm solving problems with the Americans online in Twitter, and then I realise that they're 5 hours behind me. So no, I'm all for coffee and cake, although I go for tea. And where was the cake, Sharon? There's going to be cake in the picture.
Good point, and it's Friday and everything, so should have been cake. So Laura is often a guest speaker at Cambridge. In fact, Laura, you're speaking for us in February, aren't you?
Yep, I'm doing the romance between data and flow.
Yes, at our fantastic I Love SharePoint event. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So do come along to Cambridge, but we're trying to do, this session is targeted at the whole world. So we want to get more people involved. Laura's heavily involved. You've started your own user group, Laura?
Yes, we've launched last year. We launched the Milton Keynes user group. Due to location things, we've not been able to restart up again this year, but will be soon. And I'm involved with the London group as well, stepping in to help the guys there with the organising of that group. And we've got a meeting in March for that one. We've got some great speakers coming in for that.
Who have you got in that one?
I think I've got Liam. I have to confess, I have not checked this morning. I should have checked that before I started. But no, last time I looked, we had some great speakers. I think we might have Sancho. I'm hoping we've got Sancho.
Fantastic. I've got an interview coming up with him this month, yeah.
With a brilliant branding. I think we might have him. I would have to check. This shows how I've not prepared here. I've got Cambridge prepared in my head. And of course at Cambridge we've got Shane Young dialing in as well, haven't we?
Yep, remote session from Shane showing us a little bit about CDS with the Power Apps. So that'll be a really good session. Cool. Yeah. So the whole thing, the reason that I asked Laura to join today is because Laura and I share a passion, which is in bringing communities together. So it's great to have local communities to be able to come along and meet in person and network, and there's no replacing that. But it becomes a little fragmented and it becomes more consumer based. So the community is coming along and listening to some speakers, which is fantastic. But what we want is to encourage you to take part. What we would really love you to do is get up on stage and share your ideas with us, although we realise that that's not for everybody. But we would love to join all the communities together and put some challenges out there and get you to share your ideas, because it all comes from you guys. Laura?
No, it's a good one. Sharon does a fantastic job with regards to Teams and Power Apps and Flow. To be honest, I'm really a data geek. I do Power Apps things to collect data, but at the end of the day, I actually really love Power BI, which regularly gets forgotten in the Power Platform family. So that's where I'm bringing in the data side. So and also we're keen that hopefully this year one of my passions is to get the Dynamics guys involved as well, so that actually we get right across the board. And of course, let's not forget the virtual agents. Maybe that'd be a future challenge, Sharon.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're up for understanding what future challenges you'd like us to present to you guys. So without further ado, let's move on. We've got quite a bit to get through. We've got the most marvellous Jon Levesque, who's got some ideas for us around the Flic button. So just to recap, the challenge that we're putting out to the community is to come up with some solutions around Flic with Flow, or Power Automate as it's now called, and hopefully this guy, who we all know and love, is going to tell us a story or a couple of stories that are going to really motivate us and get us thinking about how we can use that Flic button with Power Automate.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Meet Community Challenge webinar. My name is Jon Levesque. Today, you're here learning about Flic and Power Automate, buttons, instant flows, and how those tie into Power Automate. Sharon asked me to come and share a couple of stories with you that I have collected from my travels about these Flic buttons, just to kind of get your juices flowing, to get your creative mind headed somewhere, to see how some people are using these things. So the first way is actually very close to home. At Microsoft, we use these buttons in our EBC rooms, Executive Briefing Center rooms, where we bring in customers and we show them the latest and greatest tech. Well, sometimes the latest and greatest tech doesn't go as it should, right? Might have an error, might have something broken, internet might not work, who knows what it is, sound, Wi-Fi, it could be a million different things. Well, there's a button on our tables, wham, you hit that button and what happens? Someone is alerted that says, this room needs help now, and someone is dispatched immediately, so that this way we don't have to send emails back and forth with each other, we don't have to do a Teams message, nothing. There's no communication that has to happen, just boom, the press of a button. And so I think that's really the value of these buttons is what is it that I need to sometimes kick off at the touch of a button? You know, think about a couple other examples you've seen around the world, right? Airport bathrooms. You see those 4 little buttons outside the bathroom. They usually have little faces on them. You click the button to say how clean the bathroom was or how your experience was. Yeah. I've also seen these used at museums. Did you like an exam, one of the displays? Go ahead and click this button for yes, or go ahead and click this button for no. Now, one of my favorite, I think one of the coolest and one of the most interesting stories that I have to share was I actually got to work with a brand new Power Apps and Flow customer one time. They were an engineering firm here in Washington, and they had never touched the platform before. And I went on site with them and we did some training and we did some research to get to watch them touch the tools for the very first time, which was crazy. To get to watch someone touch your product for the first time, it's kind of scary. And also it's a bit eye-opening. Like when everyone's like, what the heck is this? You're like, ooh, ouch. So anyways, we went and hung out with them for a couple of days. And during my time there, it was funny because we'd have to walk through this warehouse to get into the offices. And every time I'd walk through this warehouse, I'd see this group of guys standing around a loading dock. And I assumed they were waiting for the truck, right? And so the first day I saw this, I didn't say anything about it. I just, whatever, walked inside. On day 2, though, when I saw this same thing again, all these guys standing around a loading dock, I became curious. I asked the guy who was leading me, I said, hey, what are all these guys doing? He said, they're waiting for the truck. I said, so they're just like standing here waiting for the truck? And he says, yeah. I said, what time does the truck come? And he said, at 9:30. And I look at my watch and I'm like, it's 9:40. And the guy says, yeah. I said, so they just wait till he comes? So yeah. I said, does this happen often? He says, yeah. All right. So we go inside and we just go about our day and we do our research and we do our Power Apps and Flow training. We have a great time of it. But before I leave, I decided I had to do something about this. So on day 3, when we finally go back, this is our last day with them, I actually, on the way in that day, I stopped the guy, had my laptop ready, connected it to my phone, pulled open Flow and said, we're going to have a real world demonstration right here, right now. I had all those guys that were standing around tell me their cell phone numbers. And what I did was I built a flow that said, when I push this button right here, text everyone and say, the truck is here. So now, the first person who sees the truck pushes the button, and then everyone else can be alerted that the truck has arrived. Nobody has to stand around and wait for the truck. They can continue doing their other work. Now, you might think of this story, you might think, like, what's the big deal? Well, what was happening was, there were actually 16 men that were standing around for that time every day waiting for that truck. And the company was paying them to do that. Now, you might think, oh, that's terrible, Jon. Blah, blah, blah. Let the guys have their time, whatever. But for me, it was an inefficiency thing, right? The company could be doing a lot better. That's what I do, process improvement. And so the company went back and they did a measurement and they looked at how much money were we actually losing by having these guys stand around and wait for the truck to arrive. And after they went and crunched their numbers, they came back to me and they were laughing and they said, Jon, you know that flow button you built in the warehouse? And I said, yeah. They said, we went and calculated, and that button actually saves us around $80,000 a year. $80,000 a year they were paying out in wages for these guys to kind of just stand around and wait for the truck. And so what's crazy about it is they actually went ahead and rolled that button out to several other sites. And now they are app and flow users. They are in the ecosystem. They're committed because they saw this simple use case transform the way they were doing business. And what's funny about it was they didn't even know that they were doing it wrong. And so until I came along and did a little bit of show and tell, they didn't really know what they didn't know. And so today, I hope in this webinar, you get some show and tell. I hope that it helps you understand the power of a Flic button or a BTTN button or whatever kind of button you want to use when connected to Power Automate. It is a super powerful tool and it's a super fun tool. So go out, see what you can build, do some show and tell, share it with other people so that they can see how awesome it is. All right, I hope this gives you some creative inspiration to go ahead and get started. That's it from me. Much love. I'll see you guys around.
Awesome as always, Jon Levesque.
John.
He is great, isn't he? And a great motivator. But what I love about his storytelling is that he is always talking about how to get to business value faster, which is my mantra. You know, how do we make things better? Have you seen those kind of applications in practice, Laura?
Yeah. So there's a couple of ones which we've got. One is a situation where there are guys in a production line, but it's a production line. I've never seen a production line like this till I'd worked with this client. You have to suit up. It's completely clean. It's completely. You have to wear the hairnets, the lab coats, etc., 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 etc. They have to obviously work quite hard at keeping everything and making sure nothing comes in. So if there is technology in there, it's limited, and guys are on a production line. So actually having a Flic button in the pocket allows, because they can keep that clean, allows them to be able to do the connection up, to be able to, and they haven't got time to go and play around with the phone and find the right flow to run. They want to have a Flic button that works there. So that works quite well because that gives notification, because obviously for in some of these, an awful lot of it's automated. So there's a lot less workforce than you necessarily would expect, but it allows somebody in a remote situation to be able to connect up and get a message out, or just to tag a time that something's happened, etc., etc. On a completely different scheme, another situation which is still in its infancy and just idea stage, is a company who's got guys going out to pretty remote places, as in there's no passerbys, so they're going to water treatment plants and stuff like that, but some of them are really just little remote places on the side of a farm. There is nobody around. Right. And for some of them, it is just that they can check in. It is just that they can tag in, say they've arrived, show their travels, where they are at, what times they're at, just to give some kind of reassurance to various people. I think the next video we've got coming up.
Yeah, that does tie beautifully into what Sandy is going to show us, actually.
And what I really like about it is when you click the button, you don't just get, I clicked the button. You get a where it was clicked and when it was clicked. So that those magic little bits of data that allow you to do all sorts of things, so it allows you to bring in. So I'd love to see some of the challenges include some advancements on some of the things that Sandy's going to show us, because it gives you that data, and you can do really pretty things. People like maps with data on, and so there's some ideas in there that actually I think there are some things that could be used out there. I'm thinking of using one just purely to do my travel. Yeah, Google tracks me everywhere. Doesn't Google track us all? But actually, so some things on there to best do my travels to, because I can remember where I've been and what I've seen, and you remember the places that you kind of go, where did I see that? Where was that? Those kind of things I want to be able to do, because then that would give me the time to look for photos. I can never find photos I've taken.
Yeah.
So this year, in all my travels that I've got lined up to go and do,
you're everywhere.
I'm trying to not be everywhere this year, although I am going to the US for the first time this year. So
Fantastic.
I'm gonna get a Flic button before then, so that I can put in my Flic buttons as to where I am and what I'm doing, because that'll give me some data. Mm-hmm. So later in the year, I promise I'll have a pretty report with some data on it, to show some things. So no, I'm really hoping that some of the challenge responses we get back in include some reporting of the data that a Flic button can give, not just triggering a flow, but actually triggering some other things as well, getting some reports to fire up as well.
Okay, so looking back at the agenda then, next up we've got Sandy, who's actually going to go through kind of the tech bit. So John's really here to motivate us and get us started on the ideas. But let's have a look at how Sandy has put the solution in, exactly as Laura said there, that's showing us how to get that data out of location with the Flic button. So Sandy, obviously you've done loads of stuff with Power Automate. You're part of the Flow fam, very famous for doing those kind of things. So naturally when we look at a Flic button, we're going to come to you and say, hey, what have you done? So do you want to inspire the audience and show us a little bit about what you've done?
Sure. So I kind of enjoy doing little fun things, not necessarily business applicable, I guess, but I'm hoping that something like this might spark people's imagination. So this was for a demo I had actually done for SharePoint Saturday Cambridge a couple years ago, the first year I spoke there actually, and So I have this peripatetic lifestyle where I just travel all around. And so I thought, well, it would be cool if I clicked my Flic button wherever I am traveling, and then it would be, in different locations all the time. So I added at the time, Flow behind that, before it was called Power Automate. And so my trigger is when my Flic button is pressed. And so I was just, as I was traveling around England before the SharePoint Saturday in Cambridge, I just kept on pressing my button like every time I would go to a new location to, have dinner or the Airbnb or different things like that. And then I'm setting a variable called check-in title because I want to create some sort of title, which was basically the timestamp, and I'm going to save that in a SharePoint list, which you'll see. And I want to get the current weather at the location that I click my Flic button, because I thought that would be interesting just to know the temperature, the humidity, things like that of the location where I was when I clicked the button. And I can see some application perhaps for a business, if you've got field workers going out or something that you might want to capture what the weather was at that point in time. And then also getting the location by point, so with Bing Maps. So this was basically to get some further information about the location besides what comes from the Flic button in the latitude and longitude. And so we'll see that also in the SharePoint list. And then I'm creating an item in the SharePoint list each time I click that. And so that is giving me an actual address from Bing Maps is where that's coming from. And then the various weather items, the temperature, humidity, and wind speed is what I decided that I wanted to track. But there are all kinds of options available in that MSN weather. I think it was MSN weather I used, yeah, to be able to capture. So that's all being captured in a check-ins list in SharePoint. So this is under my SharePoint Saturday Cambridge. So again, the title is the timestamp. So then it kept on capturing because I kept the Flic kept running. So or the flow kept running. So this is then when I was somewhere else besides England. But way down here are my were my England check-ins at that time. And then so when I was demoing it at the event, then what I did was I took that SharePoint list data and brought it into Power BI and created a map showing with bubbles and like a heat map kind of thing. So here the size, let me think how I had that. I think the size was the temperature, and the color is the humidity. So it's basically showing that it's damp and chilly. Because then I did this again when I was getting ready for SharePoint Saturday San Diego in Southern California, and we could see, it was kind of interesting just to see the difference between my England map and my San Diego map, which I also included. I was also clicking the button during a trip to Costa Rica in between there, and so it was interesting to see the different colors and sizes on that. But yeah, basically I'm just taking that input data out of SharePoint and then using that in Power BI, which I basically learned enough of at the time to be able to create that map that I wanted to create. I'm not a Power BI expert. That's not one of my things right now. But anyway, so that just kind of, I thought it was a cool little application to just capture more location data than you get with just the trigger itself. And hopefully that's something that can inspire somebody to create something even niftier.
Definitely think that's going to inspire people to create something niftier. And I love the fact that that Sandy shared that with us, because she has such a nomadic lifestyle. She's never in one place for very long at all. And I think
she has a lifestyle. I'm the opposite of Sandy. Sandy literally travels with a suitcase. And I met her lovely husband this week.
lovely.
And they literally have, I mean, and they have some belongings back at their daughter's, I think, but not a lot. They've sold their house, they've sold everything, and they travel with a suitcase each. And that's it.
Fantastic. And I love the way that she says that she's just playing with the technology here, but already off the back of this conversation, it's started a couple of conversations that I've had with some other developers, and they're saying that they're creating solutions for customers around deliveries. You know, you click the button when you arrive, you make the complex delivery, and then you click the button when you leave, and then it effectively starts to give performance data on how long it takes to deliver certain things in certain locations because of, you know, constraints of heights of vehicles and stuff like that. So it's really good to see the amount of data that's coming back off that Flic button. And as you were saying, Laura, that's really cool.
It is really cool, and I think there are possibilities nowadays when we're getting into the what Flow can do behind the scenes as well. So with that information, what can Flow, what can we do? Not just saving the data, but actually can we send some things so that people are prepared, etc. Now, wouldn't it be nice if you could press a button on a Flic and by the time you got home, the coffee machine was ready?
That's what husbands are for.
It's not signed in.
I don't think he's online. So I think obviously one of the things that you'll be more interested in is the data behind there. But there are some really nice triggers now for data alerts, aren't there? So you could have clicked your Flic button and it could have saved that data. And now you could have Power Automate now giving you some data back around, you know, somebody spent too long in an area, or, you know, clearly the vehicle's broken down because it's not had a click in a while, because we now have that built into Power BI with Power Automate, don't we?
Yeah, and so Power BI also has a refresher data set. So a Flic could be refreshing a data set up, which actually, thinking about it, you could then have it that actually that's a way for people to be able to get data to be resorted out, and alerts can then be sent out based off of a data set in Power BI. So all sorts of things could be triggered off triggers.
Okay, so let's get back to the challenge. So what we're looking for is to give you some ideas so that you go out and create some solutions. Now, ideally, you go and create something that's super powerful to your organization. You can come back and say that you've saved $80,000. But actually, we don't need you to go that far for this particular challenge. So we're happy for you to just even come up with an idea, or, you know, anything, or create the solution or demo the solution. It's absolutely fine. But if you just have the idea and you don't have the skills to be able to create that, we'll quite happily jump on a call and show you quickly how to do that or how we would go about that. So myself and Laura will be around for the next few weeks to kind of jump on and help you get to the point with this challenge. We also have a small bit of sponsorship from Flic themselves. They've given me 10 buttons to be able to give away. So if you need a button to be able to practice on this, please get in touch with me. There's loads of details on how to get in touch with me at the end, so that we can get you guys creating, not just consuming. So some rules here. We need you to use the Flic button and Power Automate as part of the challenge. We're looking for commercial and non-commercial solutions. We've got a lovely solution internally where our project manager hits a Flic button and it puts an alert in the headset of one of our developers, because developers never take their headsets off. So, however minor or major you think that solution is in terms of creating a business impact, we want to hear from you. And we want to hear from everybody. You could be a complete novice all the way through to a Microsoft member of staff. You could be an MVP that's created a solution and you want to share that with everybody. The whole idea is to share. It doesn't matter who you are. Bring us your ideas and we'll give you a platform to share those on. And as a bonus for the challenge number 1, I'm actually on stage at the Community Summit in Barcelona. If you haven't registered for this, you really should register. This is an awesome event. A Power Platform Summit allows you to get together with so many people and share ideas. I cannot explain to you how powerful these events are. But I have a session at Barcelona where I'm going to show the results of this webinar. So not just are we going to come back and do a results webinar, but you may get the opportunity to present your idea on stage, or for me to show a short video of your idea on stage. So a little bit of infamy for you guys, but we're really looking to get you guys the exposure that you deserve for having these brilliant ideas and really crowdsourcing some creativity here. So again, I can't pay for your ticket to come for the summit or your flights or your expenses, but if you're coming along anyway, do join me up on stage and have a voice. We'd love to see you.
It's a great opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what people produce and seeing what people come up with. Both Sharon and I will quite happily. I want to re-emphasize what Sharon just said. We'll quite happily help anybody. We both spend way too much time online. So we've both got Twitter. We've both got LinkedIn. Come find us.
And how do you take part? Well, we have an entry form for you. If we just flick to the next slide, there it is. So here's the bit.ly for it. We're going to put this out on social. We'll put this in the YouTube links where we're going to put this video up. Or you can just copy that rather snazzy looking URL down.
I'll be tweeting it out.
Okay, good. And all we're asking you for there, we're not asking you for the code. We do not want you to send in your solution. Your solution is yours. We're just looking to understand how you're implementing this stuff. And again, if you want to request a button, then it's probably easier to get in touch with me rather than fill in the form first time. So the results webinar, we're going to come back on the 5th of March. And show you what everybody has created and feature you or your solution, or even images of your solution, whichever you're most comfortable with. Do send us your ideas so that we can feature you in the results webinar. We're going to do this challenge every quarter, so we'll then be back with challenge 2, 3 and 4 during the course of the year. So if you've got some ideas for future challenges, also well received. Next time we'll have another guest co-host from a different Power Platform or other user group. Hopefully we can bring in some of those D365 guys. But if you've got a challenge that you'd like to present to the community, we'd love to hear that too. So please do get involved, come and fill in the form, and let us know what you think of the webinar. And thanks for coming along. Thanks for listening.
Looking forward to seeing the results.
Big soon, guys.
Take care now.